Hey, this is David Owen.
And this is Marian Caligoan.
And this is You Show Me Yours, a podcast where a married couple talks about the movies and television that they loved before the first date. And this time I was made to watch My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
I'm so excited to talk about this. Oh, my big fat Greek wedding is one of my favorites. Not necessarily because it is like this seminal work of art or anything, but it is just touching and sweet, and it's got good lessons if you're in the mood for that, and it's funny if you're in the mood for that, and it has a tiny bit of nostalgia for me, not because I'm Greek at all. But I worked for 2 summers in college for a restaurant that was owned by a Greek family, and I have fond memories of them and the restaurant, and so this reminds me of that just a little bit, although they weren't nearly as interesting as this family is. So if you are not familiar with this movie came out in summer of 2002, a mere 7-8 months before Dave and I met. Excuse me. Written by Nia, I don't know how to say the last name, Vardalos, Nia, we'll call her Nia. And it's based on her one-woman show, which is based on her actual life and her actual experience of growing up Greek and then marrying a non-Greek man who, fun fact, is an actor in this film. It was Mike, who is the best friend of her eventual husband. His name is Ian Gomez, and he's very much not Greek. And so he inspired this in a way. Side note, before I saw him in this, the only thing I had seen him in was Felicity. He played this coffee shop manager who was very effeminate, and that's what I think of him as, and it's hilarious to see him as this. I think, though, this is more of his personality.
Probably, yeah. He's just sort of a grumpy schlub.
He's very schlubby. I truly don't see the appeal, honestly.
Right.
But, John Corbett is a major upgrade, but we'll get to that in a second. So she did a woman show based on her sort of life experience. And then it was Rita Wilson and Tom Hanks ended up seeing it somehow. And they optioned it and turned it into a movie. And I think that there had been some discussion with other production companies about making it into a movie, but other companies wanted to change the ethnicity of the family and make them Hispanic. And Rita Wilson herself is Greek. And so she was like, oh, no. No. We're going to do this right. And this is how it happened. So there's a long history of this, and Nia wrote the script herself. Joe Zwick is the director. I don't know who that is, but nice job, Joe Zwick.
All right. So, and neither do I.
Yeah. And the cast is Nia V plays Tula, an ugly duckling, and then John Corbett is Ian, her eventual husband. And I don't know if any of the other actors are really quite as well known, though I have to give a shout out to Gia Caritas, who plays Nikki, Tula's cousin, who was in Strictly Ballroom, one of the best movies I've ever seen.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
She looks a little different, but basically the same personality. Lots of Australians in this, actually, because she's Australian, and then the guy who plays Tula's brother is Australian too, but so they got people from everywhere to do this. So essentially, this is an ugly duckling story. Tula is the middle child of her family. Her family owns a restaurant, and she works there because, gasp, she's 30 and she's not married. And even though, it's unclear when this is set, but let's say 90s, early 2000s, the track for girls in this conclave was go to high school, get married, and then you stay home and raise the babies, and that's what you do. And there's no reason for any career, Yeah. So she's just working at the restaurant until someone deigns to marry her, and it's not looking good. They have these plans about we're going to send her to Greece to find a husband, and we won't won't say how old she is, but she doesn't want to do it. She has bigger dreams, and she eventually talks. She and her mother talk her father into letting her go to college, and she finds out. She sort of finds her direction working for her aunt's travel agency. So she gets out of the restaurant biz and into something where she can kind of do her own thing and she can really bring value to this. And she meets Ian, and they fall in love, and he is from this he's an only child, which is just unheard of to her. She says she has 27 cousins, 27 first cousins. And he's very, very waspy. At one point, his family is described as dry toast. Yeah. And the actors who play his parents do actually do a very good job of acting like dry toast. Yeah, like, totally. And the costumes I think are interesting because they're all always in these muted colors. The rest of the Greek family is in brights and everything. And he acknowledges, like, yes, we're different, but I love you. I don't care about what our families think about each other. We are going to make this work. And they go through all these, obstacles and various things. But at the end of the movie, they're married and they're happy. And then the last scene, which I like that they put this on there, is they have been married. Her parents bought them a house as a gift, which is sort of a sign of acceptance, which is right next door to her parents. And they're walking their daughter, who is 6 at this point, to Greek school, which is something that Tula in the beginning of the movie struggled with, having to go to Greek school and being this separate. She felt like all of her, quote, American friends didn't have to do this. And why did she, that she's grown at this point to appreciate her Greek family, but not be stifled by it. And then what I like is that Ian is walking their daughter to Greek school too. So he's part of this, even though he himself is not Greek. I also like that it shows them as a married couple at the end, because I have gotten annoyed over time with love stories that imply that getting engaged or getting married is like, that's the peak.
Right. That's where it ends.
And it's very much not. I mean, I think we've, since we've been married, we've had peaks and valleys and good days and bad days. And I think the thing about love stories is that you grow over time and you never have hit the high point. It's always ahead. So that's the summary of the plot. Yep. But now that that's out of the way, I want to hear what you think of this. You said you had heard of it before and you knew a little bit about it, but what did you know about it before? What do you think now?
Yeah, I mean, it was unavoidable in 2002 or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, it was everywhere. I don't know. It just seemed like another one of these movies, but quirky and ethnic, quote unquote ethnic.
Well, yeah, an ugly duckling story, an ugly duckling story, and or a story about two families that don't get along. Like, those are kind of a dime a dozen. So I'm with you there. But
yeah. I mean, it was I don't know. Yeah, it was everywhere. So I mean, the only thing I really knew about it before is that the guy from Northern Exposure was in it. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Can we talk about him for a second? Can I just your goal for, if any woman listening to this, if you don't have a partner, your goal should be a partner who treats you like John Corbett does in this movie, because he adores her from like minute one, and he puts up with whatever her family, like he's in it for everything. And he says he had come into her family's restaurant before she had sort of started on this, when she was still the ugly duckling. Yeah. And he saw her then, and she, I think, remembered him. And later they meet again, and she has to say, "Oh yeah, no, my family owns that restaurant." And he realizes, "Oh wait, okay, yeah, no, I met you there." And she says, "I was going through a phase. I was Frump Girl." And he says, "I don't remember Frump Girl, but I remember you," which I didn't notice the outer trappings, but I got you, like your I can't even put it into words. It's very sweet.
The thing about his character in this movie is every bit of the way that his character is and the way that his character acts and interacts says that this guy is up to no good. Because nobody is that perfect. Nobody's that understanding.
Well,
no, especially with, because even shined up, she's not a beauty queen. Like, she's plenty pretty.
She's lovely. Yeah, but she's not.
Yeah, but she's,
sure.
So she's
like
it's
most
not,
women. She's
right. Yeah. I mean, she is average pretty. Not oh my God, we got to put her in a Hollywood film, but average pretty.
Yeah.
And obviously he loves her for other reasons, in the actual context of the real movie.
Yeah.
But everything about this reads like, and then, like right after they were married, just all the bank accounts were drained, and somehow I unintentionally signed the mortgage to my family's restaurant over to him, and he was
actually Turkish, and it was
right. Like this is like right about the time is like right after they get married is when like some private detective comes up and goes, do you know Jimmy Del Rey? And she's like, no. And they show a picture and it's him. She goes, that's my husband, Ian.
Oh, no.
Oh, well.
Oh, geez. You can't do this to me.
That's your husband. And that's, here's, and you just start showing pictures of all these women that he's bamboozled and married in a matter of months. All
vaguely ethnic looking. And he's used the same scam on all of them.
Yeah, here's the lady whose Mexican restaurant he stole. Here's the family whose Puerto Rican restaurant. Here's the Cuban family.
Don't do that to me. Oh, but no. But he does fall completely. And you kind of wonder, like there's a scene early on, he's talking with his friend Mike, about, all these women that he's dated or been set up with, and they're all the same, to the point where like he sees a picture and he's like, oh no, I went out with her. That's Pamela. And the friend's like, no, that's Nancy. That's, So I don't know. You can sort of get the impression like he's looking for something new.
Right.
And he is, he's John Corbett. He's very attractive. And I imagine he just has no shortage of women who would like to date him. So he's kind of, he's had sort of the, I don't know. I don't want to say the cream of the crop because that sounds terrible.
Pick of the litter, whatever.
Sure. But the pick is all boring. Like he wants someone more interesting.
Yeah. I mean, most definitely he what seems to interest his character about her is that that she's interesting, that she's funny, that she's not this stamped out carbon copy of some, gold digger who's looking for a husband.
Yeah. Well, and there's at some point his parents talk about the North Shore Country Club, which if you know Chicago, like that is, they are rich, and he looks like he has a comfortable living. So I maybe not gold digger, but definitely like a certain lifestyle expectation. And he's probably dated a lot of debutantes.
Oh yeah. I'm sure. Although, I don't know who his schlubby high school teacher friend is setting him up with exactly.
Yeah, how does he meet the? I don't quite understand that
because he's a teacher, right? Is this a private school he's a teacher at, or what?
I don't know. And like, why are they having lunch off campus in the middle of the day? It was kind of weird too. There's a lot of things I don't really understand there, but
sure.
Whatever. And how can someone just wander into the school in the middle of the day? That was sort of weird also. She goes to visit him in the classroom.
Well, so when was this written, right? Like when did this experience happen? Is this pre-Columbine and pre sort of, early 2000s? If in that case, someone literally walked onto the campus of my middle school and stabbed someone. So it was 100% possible in the early 90s to just walk onto a school campus. And I mean, that school campus was completely unsecured in any way. Like it was a bunch of separent buildings.
This was filmed in Canada. So maybe in Canada they're more.
So and I mean also just it's a movie.
Sure.
Some of it's a time capsule. This isn't quite as time capsule-y as running onto the tarmac or running past the security.
It's not, but I definitely had that feeling of, because our 10-year-old school, like you have to be buzzed in and sign
there's
in.
There's a single door that you enter by, and
you have to have a reason, and you. So,
which is crazy because all the schools that I went to as a kid, they were all these open air schools with multiple buildings, and you just can't. Modern security protocols would deem that you just can't do that anymore without like fencing in that entire school and putting like an entry gate.
I think
or something.
I was at your old high school for a Stepsisters concert or something. Yeah. And I don't know, we're talking like 10 years ago. But there was no fence then or anything like that. It was still pretty open. Maybe it's
my middle school
now.
My middle school and elementary school were both, and we had a school, a level between elementary and middle school, and even that one was just there was a main building, but then there were these separate classrooms, these old classrooms from the 1800s, and you just walk right up. I mean, you literally just walked into them and we were 20 feet off of a road, so you could just walk right in.
Well,
So
Anyway, back to
the movie.
John Corbett. But I don't know if I've ever seen him in a role where he was not like a nice guy, because he's from Northern Exposure.
Oh yeah,
Chris. I didn't watch that whole series, but he was. I mean, he was weird, but he was definitely a good guy.
Yeah.
He was Aiden on Sex and the City, which I still maintain Carrie should be with him because Mr. Big sucks. And he's this guy. And then in Serendipity, he's the guy that gets left for John Cusack, but he's still a good guy.
Yeah.
And apparently he's very decent about the whole thing, which I don't know. It happens off screen. I know you've seen Serendipity. Don't front.
I have, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
I have.
So, yeah. And I don't know what else he's been in, but he's always just like, he's pretty much the guy that he plays is always pretty much perfect.
Yeah, I feel like this, maybe the time has passed as he's got some age on him, but I feel like he was ripe for like a turn. You know, like to be in a movie and be like, well, we know him.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
It's
well,
just
like we talked about. Yeah. You get suckered into thinking, well, your idea about
Right. Exactly. I thought this was
my family's ethnic restaurant.
Right.
Oh my gosh. Don't do that to me. Don't tell me bad things about John Corbett.
We call him the ethnic restaurant bandit.
You got to work on that name, I think.
Yeah.
But well, he is. I think now he plays people's dads because he was in the last Ramona movie as Ramona's dad. Yeah. Ramona's dad is a good character.
Yeah,
but
he's like
not a romantic lead, really.
What's his name from? Never mind.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's no reason to go down that road.
Okay.
A lot of times I think of male actors, and then I'm like, I haven't heard from that guy in a while. Did he have a thing where we don't he's not allowed, we don't talk about him anymore?
Yeah.
Right. Did he turn out to be a dick?
Did he pull a Spacey?
Right.
Yeah, no, please. I hope no. I don't want to hear about it if John Corbett did, but
no,
But I mean you're right. The sort of, he's instantly like flip a switch and he's like full on in love from the beginning, which you're right. That's not how it works. I mean,
it's suspicious. Really.
I mean, you fell for me that way. Clearly.
Oh, yeah.
Clearly.
Yep.
And have never wavered one bit.
No, never. Never, ever. No, it's just, it was love at first sight.
But yeah, listen, that line about, I don't remember From Girl, but I remember you, like so I definitely had an ugly duckling period. Sometimes I feel like I'm still in the ugly duckling period. But the idea that like somebody saw through the glasses and the bad hair and in my case, the acne and all the stuff and saw like your core and loves you, like that is just, I mean, catnip. Like I just melt. So,
yes,
so one thing that I appreciate about Tula's kind of reinvention in this, it's not really that much, right? So she takes off the glasses, which is always a trope, and it's mildly annoying, but I hate wearing my glasses, and so when I was able to get contacts, that was like amazing. Like it did not change things for me as much as I hoped it would, but it was still great. So she takes
I was lied to. I took these off and put on cooler clothes and I didn't get taken to the prom.
Nothing happened. Yeah, it's not always like in She's All That. But anyway, so she takes off the glasses. She does her hair, but they show her with rollers in, but her hair is very clearly naturally curly. So, but she does her hair
those
better.
rollers do not produce the sort of curl that she had in her hair.
No. But she figures out her hair.
Yeah.
She puts on a little makeup.
Her hair is very 90s. And I'm sure it's just
the pull back in the.
Yeah, it's just
it looks like a spiral perm.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Sure.
It just and it didn't help that like one of her cousins also has big, stupid early 90s, late 80s hair.
Sure, yeah, but I appreciate that there isn't a whole. I mean, and she does dress better. I mean, you don't see a whole lot of her outfits before, but she definitely dresses better. There isn't a whole lot. They don't make it a thing that she loses weight, which is always a thing in makeover sequences. It looks like she does because there's this. She goes There's a shot of her leaving the college after she's registered, and she's wearing this big coat. And I mean, she looks like a sausage. And then later she's not. So I don't know if that's supposed to imply that she lost weight or it's just a weird thing, but they don't make it a plot point, which I appreciate.
Yeah. And it wasn't like she got a nose job or something. Like, she didn't do anything to change her outward ethnic appearance.
Yeah.
And, so it wasn't like, oh, you just needed to be a little whiter.
Yeah. She doesn't dye her hair. She doesn't tan. She doesn't bleach her skin. She's still her. She's just a little more refined, which I like. And I like that the sequence isn't exactly right, but she kind of changes her outer self as she's going to college and learning more and getting more confident.
Yeah.
And you see more than just her outer appearance, and this guy likes her. Like, she goes and there's a bit of a flashback in the start of the movie. She's in the school cafeteria and she's like, I don't know, 5 or 6. And there's this table of blonde girls who she apparently is not welcome to sit with. And they're all eating, peanut butter and jelly and chips and whatever. And she's got leftovers from home, and she says it moussaka. I don't know what it is, but it's something Greek. And the blonde girl says, "What is that, moussaka?" And just, clearly like little ethnic girl with her ethnic food is weird. And then she's in the college student union or whatever and asks if she can sit down with this table of all blonde girls.
Yeah.
And they welcome her, and just like, oh, that was a nice moment.
Yeah. And then later on they were like, and this old lady came up and wanted to sit with us. And we were like, yeah, okay, sure. I mean, no one's technically sitting there. I mean, my parents raised me better than that. So I said, sure, sit down.
I'm an ugly duckling. I need to see other ugly ducklings.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But like, that's one of those things that as a perpetual outsider who never really needed, me personally, as a perpetual outsider who never looked for or wanted or needed approval from the popular people in my school, like, that's one of those things where I see that I'm like, yeah, but you don't need that validation anymore. You know what those people are. You're trying to get into this group that is showing themselves to be not worthy of your friendship. And I know that they hadn't shown those particular girls doing that, but that scene is so clearly mirroring the previous scene that, it's just this idea that people who are on the outside, they so often want nothing more than to be as shitty as the people who are shitty to them and be welcomed in by those people. Because that's how you'd get welcomed in, by also being as shitty as they are. Well,
okay, but you see that that's not what she did. And then you never see those girls again. It's not like she was like, oh, I'm going to leave all my cousins behind and I'm going to be friends with these blondies. Yeah. I think it's just...
I just mean... It
was just a nice
to me, that is up there with, oh, she lost weight. Like, it is something that doesn't need... The popular people accepting you doesn't determine any of your self-worth at all. And for it to be that, because it's very clearly done as a one-to-one. Well, look, these shitty blonde girls in elementary school mocked me, and I knew better than to even try to sit with them. Now I have the confidence to try to sit with them, and I can sit with them. Okay, well, are they still the same crappy people as the blonde girls in the previous one, or are these blonde girls somehow just popular and good people?
I think the difference is because in the first scene she doesn't even try to sit with them. She kind of gives them a look, and there's clearly an empty seat, and she's just like, nope, I'm going to go over here. And they pick on her from the next table. Sure. And in this one, she goes to sit at the next table, and then she's like, oh wait, no. I think it's more about her.
I get it. I get the confidence
growth
thing, but that's what I'm saying is, like, I get that it's demonstrating her confidence that before she wouldn't have even thought of sitting at the table with the popular girls. But like I said, the popular girls are proven to be heels. Why do you want to sit with the popular girls?
Well, I don't think it gets that deep about this, the grown-up popular girls. It's just,
right. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. But that's what I'm saying. Because it's so surface level, it doesn't get deep enough, and they're just doing a one-to-one comparison. Then to me, blonde girls from her childhood are shitty, and she knows better than to try to sit with them. Blonde girls, as she's an adult, are clearly hearkening back to the shitty blonde kids, and she sits with them. Like, I know what I'm supposed to glean from that, but just as someone who who did spend my entire school years as an outsider and happy to be one. You know, I clearly saw the popular people who wouldn't have let me sit there even if I wanted to for who they were. And I never, even in my adult life, aspired to have the confidence to sit with them because I didn't want to sit with shitty people. But I get it. We can move on. I'm doing the thing I do, which is reading way too much into it. But yeah, it that particular thing, the payoff for me as an individual wasn't what they intended it to be. So I know it obviously landed the right way for you, but for me, it didn't land that way because of my personal experiences.
Well, yeah, I think, you were a person who was an outsider and was fine. And I am a person who was an outsider and was desperately unhappy.
Yeah, because my version of that is now I am what they want to be, and they want to sit with me, and I say no.
Yeah,
not because I'm a shitty person, because I don't then turn around and make fun of them, but because I know they're not worthy of my time. You know, so if you're making this movie about me, that scene plays out a little different.
Well, okay,
but you're not. You're not making this movie about me.
No, yeah, because you're not Greek. So there you go. One thing I noticed about this was we talked about the movie Avalon a couple episodes ago, and that's family that's very, I would say, insular, and you know they all hang out with people who are of their same ethnicity, and keeping that up is important. And that family seems like this family a couple generations ahead, but this family happened to get a clue. Right.
Sure.
And is a lot more, you get the sense that they're a little better at conflict resolution. And if maybe more yelling, but they would figure it out. But there's also, like, I think in that family, the Kaczynskis, if one of their kids said, "Oh, I want to marry this person who's not Jewish," like they would just be cut off.
Sure.
Now, granted, a Jewish person marrying a non-Jewish person is a little bit different than a Greek marrying a non-Greek, but I saw parallels that I had not before. Like, I think just the idea of family is family and family sticks together. You see those message in both of these, although Tula, I think, is able to come to terms with it a little more than some of the people in Avalon.
Yeah, well, and also I think the thing about if you compare this to Avalon, in Avalon they are very explicitly in a neighborhood surrounded by other Jewish families, and in this movie they are very explicitly the only Greek family on the street in the neighborhood. So you know, it's sort of a adapt to survive kind of thing. You know, they've probably had to take in a lot of American customs and stuff like that are not specifically Greek, even though, like, they're obviously not ashamed of their Greekness because they made their house a Parthenon.
The extreme opposite. Yeah. What, like, can I just, wow, that is, can we paint an Irish flag on our garage? That's flipping awesome.
Go to town.
We're going to get a replica of the Blarney Stone out front and no leprechauns.
You can finally get a bathtub Mary.
I mean, that's on order.
You've got the goose now.
I do. We're going to get a bathtub Mary and some St. Francis. I actually do want to put some statues out.
Checking off the Midwestern front yard.
Yes. The only problem with the St. Francis statue is eventually you get a dog and then he pees on it, and that's not okay. I don't really like that. St. Francis, for those of you who aren't Catholic, is the patron saint of animals. So, and we one time went to a vet when we had a dog, where there was a St. Francis statue outside, which is really sweet until you consider he's been, quote, baptized by every single dog that visited the practice, even the non-Catholic dogs.
Right. Yeah. The heathens. Right. The heathen dogs.
They weren't baptized, but they still baptized. Right. So, So I would like our house to reflect that we're super Irish, even though I'm not really super Irish. I kind of wish I were.
Can I just paint like a brown muddle of like 12 different flags?
You're basically Irish. You know, you want to be.
I think I'm basically Scottish.
Well, yeah,
and English.
It's all British Isles.
Sure.
Stuff. I don't know. Yeah, I have enough Northern Irish in me that I don't think I want to put the Union Jack on things.
Yeah.
Fermanagh, not Belfast.
Oh, sure.
You have no idea what I'm talking about, do you?
This is a skill that I've learned in our relationship. It's the verbal equivalent of just nod. And, yeah. Yes, dear. Yes, dear. Yes.
Okay. So speaking of, yeah. What do you think of this tactic that Tula's mother uses? The man is the head of the household, but the woman is the neck.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty accurate in my past experience with with the family units that I've managed to observe.
Yeah.
Specifically my grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say that was true in both of those cases, in my dad's parents and my mom's parents. Yeah, I would say that if you asked, the man was in charge, but everyone really knew that the woman, the mom was in charge.
I mean, do you think that's healthy?
I think it's no, like, just, I think it was healthy for, when you have something that's broken, like if you have an animal that breaks their leg, they compensate, and eventually they have a limp or whatever, the leg doesn't heal properly. They have a limp.
I'm curious to see how this gets back to marriage.
But they compensate for it, right?
Okay.
And that system of a patriarchal household was broken by the 80s, by the 70s, by the 80s. Like, the functionality of it was broken, given the fact that a lot of women were out in the workforce, and it had shifted. Well,
and frankly, just, you don't have to be in the workforce to want some say in how your household is run.
Well, sure. So, but I think that was the limb that was broken, and this is the way that it was compensated for, and that it's still, like, they still had 4 legs, but they only used 3 of them, really. Yes, it's a little bit of it's a bit of a stretch, but
it's a little weird. You got there eventually.
My point being that, yeah, like, this was a broken system, and I think the woman rising to the top, in this covert way, the neck, being the neck. Yeah, I mean, I think it helped that system to last another generation or two.
Well,
past its prime.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I maintain that it's not very healthy, but I noticed this time that I was watching this, that when Tula's father finds out that she's dating this non-Greek, way at the beginning, she says she wants to go to college, and he goes, "Why do you want to leave me?" Which is very cute the way he does it.
Yeah.
But, like, you are a 60-year-old man. Like, did you not think this was going to happen? Your daughter, like, it's just sort of, it's done in a cute way, but it's really pathetic.
Well, I think,
well, hold on. And then when they find out that she's dating Ian, he says, "How can she do this to me?"
Yeah.
And I think he even puts the emphasis, how could she do this to me? Like, she's not doing anything to you. Like, It's not about you. And it feels to me, because he's the only one who reacts that way. I mean, her mother at first is like, "Okay, end it. This doesn't work. Just stop." But then when they get engaged, she's like, "Okay, this is love. It happens. Just make it work." And I wonder, is that a little bit of a patriarch raging against everything is different now than the way I was told it was going to be? I'm supposed to be able to rule my wife, rule my kids, tell my children who they can marry, blah, blah, blah. And I can't. And, like, that's not fair. And I'm reading way a lot into that.
Yeah.
But I think that's, like, you can't tell the patriarch you're not in charge anymore. So you just sneakily go behind his back and make him think it was his idea.
Well, right. They explicitly continue to make him think he's in charge.
Yes.
So they're feeding, his wife has been feeding into that system. Well, yeah, obviously it is. But yeah, his wife has been feeding into that system. I mean, it's unfair on so many levels, right? It's unfair to him because he's constantly manipulated into thinking he's in charge. It's like, this won't land for you, but it certainly lands for me. It's like, you give the kid brother a controller that's not hooked in, so that he thinks he's playing.
Yeah,
That's what he's been given, a controller that's not hooked up, that's not turned on. And of course it's unfair to the women, but I mean, all that the mother has to do is pat him on the head and say, "Yeah, you're in charge," and then she's in charge of everything. Yeah. So it's I'm not going to say it's most unfair to the man, but it's interesting how it's unfair in different ways.
Yeah.
That even though the woman is in charge, she's not allowed to say that she is or show that she is. She has to trick the man, but also
go through all this plot.
The man
to make it,
is just constantly tricked by the spouse into thinking he's in charge. So it's like a snake eating its own tail.
Yeah. Well, and I think about how our relationship works. I don't know if anybody would look at us and say either one of us is in charge. I think I am more type A than you, so I could see people thinking that I was not in charge, but like make a lot of decisions. But I don't think that's actually true. But I don't have the headspace to come up with all these games to be like, well, I'll make him think it's like, I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
And it's just exhausting to think about. But one thing that I like in this is I don't think Ian wants to be that way. He seems to be like, he and Tula seem like they're pretty evenly matched as far as that. And Tula's brother, Nick, he's also living at home, not married yet. And he's a year younger than she is. And nobody has a problem with that. Just her.
Well, yeah. I don't want to derail this, but I want to talk about Nick.
Yeah. Okay. So he is encouraging to her, like there's a scene where their parents invite guys over to try to get her to date them instead
Greek
of Ian.
Guys, explicitly.
And Tula and Nick are making eye contact across the table, and he's just like, no, don't. Right. Like he's on some level, he is supportive of her marrying this other guy that she really likes. And he, a couple times, he really like, Ian gets baptized into the Greek Orthodox Church, and Tula says to Nick, at some point he's going to wake up and say, oh my God, you're so not worth all this, which again, that's a line that hit me 150%. And Nick says to her, you are. Mm-hmm. Like, so I don't think he is going to repeat this patriarchal nonsense, at least to the extent that his father does. No, I don't know. Who knows? Family pull and privilege is a hell of a drug. But I like to think that the next generation is going to be a little bit more egalitarian.
Well, and speaking to Ian in particular, is I think one of the things he likes about Tula is that she is independent. I mean, obviously she lives with her parents and yada, yada, yada. She's got all these family connections, but that she's a strong, independent woman. And you don't get into a relationship with a strong, independent woman expecting to
rule the roost.
Right. I mean, and you wouldn't even want to. Like, to me, you wouldn't be attracted to a strong, independent woman if that's not what you're looking for. That's why that's interesting to you. You don't look at that and go, well, once I can just get her under control, she'll be good. Like, no, it's just, I mean, that's true of our relationship, you know, and it's true of what I had ever been looking for, and that comes from my mom and her being a single parent and showing me all this strength. And so I was never looking for some subservient woman. In fact, when my mom was expected to be subservient, she was not, and got out of a bad relationship, arguably twice. But I mean, I don't think I think as far as their relationship, that's definitely not going to be perpetuated. No. Because you wouldn't, it's got to, there's no doubt that's got to be one of the things that he's falling for in her, is that, this isn't a woman who's just, because again, like we said before, he's been going out with all these rubber stamped, all these, stamped out Barbies, we assume. Yeah. And that are probably just looking for a husband, to take care of them or whatever, and knowing that he comes from wealth or whatever. So probably, some amount of wealth.
We assume.
I think that's absolutely what he's looking for is that. So I think that dies there for sure.
Well, and I think, and I didn't remember this from previous watches, but on their first date, he tells her that he originally was supposed to be a lawyer. His father's a lawyer, and he was kind of, I guess, expected to be, and he was pre-law when he went to college. And then he was just like, this is not for me. And he went into education, and that caused some strife with his family. So I think he knows a little bit about what it means to stand up to your family.
Yeah.
He's not had to do it as much as she has, but I think he sees some of that in her, and he probably encourages her a little bit to keep doing that. So I think that's a shared experience that they have, even though their families are completely different. So
yeah.
You were going to say something about Nick.
Oh, Nick.
Yeah.
Nick's gay, right? Like, Nick is 100% gay.
Actually, no.
Okay.
Because so they made a sequel to this.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm saying but
which was not nearly as good.
From this movie, Nick is clearly gay.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
If this movie were made today, Nick is gay. 1,000% he's gay.
You know who is gay in the sequel?
No.
Angelo.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay.
Well, here, hold on. Okay, hold on. You talk. I'm gonna check because I
are you gonna check?
I
mean, there's nothing else to talk about. But yeah, no, I think like he's, and again, this isn't trying to be stereotypical of what, but I am so trained, just like with the Ian character, I am so trained, like male who still lives at home, isn't shown interested in any woman, is shown to be sensitive, is shown on some level, but also macho to hide his sensitivity, is in good shape and is into art,
Okay. Yes, it is Angelo. Angelo turns out to be gay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, like 100, like again, like I said, in the same way that I read Ian as a scammer who's only trying to take over the family business, he reads as 100%.
I can see that. I can't remember it now, and I didn't take notes about it when we watched it. There's a scene where he comes in and he's like, it looks like I think it's the morning, and his mother is like, "Where were you? Nowhere. What were you doing? Nothing." And so I can see how that could be like, oh, I came home from my hot date with another man. I thought it was going to be like he was at a girl's house and no one asks him where he was and nobody cares because they don't care about his reputation. But I could see how you could do that too.
Yeah.
But if we count the second movie as canon, he is not gay.
Well, yeah, sure.
So.
Yeah, no, it just 1,000% reads that way.
Okay,
like I said, because I'm trained by modern film tropes to see the younger brother, again, like I said, still at home, sensitive, but often macho to cover up his sensitivity.
So what's interesting? Okay, you say macho.
Yeah.
So
machismo.
The father, Gus, is kissing on Nick a fair bit, and there's hugs and everything, and like you can tell that he dotes on Nick, like, oh, my son.
Yeah.
I always find it interesting when there is some element of machismo, but then there's kissing between men. I mean, it's fathers and sons.
Yeah.
But I feel like, does Gus ever kiss like his brother-in-law or his nephews or Ian or anybody? I just find that interesting because that's not, Irish people don't do machismo or kissing. So
wait, Irish people don't do machismo? What?
We do not. They sometimes get in fights, but that's different than machismo.
Okay, they do hooliganism,
right? That's in the bar. They go like this. I'm doing the Fighting Irish Leprechaun right now, but they don't. There isn't. There's some Irishmen who are dicks,
sure,
but we don't have this, and there's no kissing.
I mean, there's an Irish mafia, but yes, okay. Like, sure.
They're dicks to each other, but they're not.
Yeah, no, but I get what you're saying.
They're only dicks to women when they're drunk.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. Like, yeah, he's affectionate. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. That's not, I don't read anything into it. I just find it interesting.
I think maybe some of it is just they're always kissing each other.
Yes.
Greek thing. And maybe that's the only one, because he does at the end. I believe I believe at the end they do the cheek kiss with Ian. I can't
remember. I feel like I was watching at the time to see.
Yeah.
Because that would have been like a big, turning point, whatever. And I don't remember if they did.
I know the mother does.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that would be expected.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I think it's just it's you never I don't think you see anyone else do it with anyone else necessarily explicitly, but yeah, I would think in this case it's probably not, there's not as much there because it's just a tradition of their peoples,
sure,
so to speak.
Well, I am all in favor of fathers kissing their sons, so I applaud it.
Cool.
I think hugs and kisses should be freely given between parents and children, but
agreed.
It's just funny. So yeah, I have no patience for this machismo that says, oh, men should never show affection ever. Like, shut up.
Oh yeah,
go away. That's nonsense. I don't like that at all.
Yeah, I mean, I have no time for most stereotypical
I know.
quote man things. So again, you wouldn't have married me
No,
if
I
you
would
wanted
not.
a stereotypical macho man.
No, I just think
you sure didn't get one.
that's stupid. Which is not to say that you have to do all those things, but to want to give someone a hug and a kiss and be told you can't do that because you're a man, like, no, that's bullshit.
Yeah, no, they're just like, and I'm not going to get into like some men's rights kind of thing here, but yeah, like men have largely been done dirty in terms of their emotional maturity and what is and isn't acceptable. And again, I'm always going to come back to the fact that I was raised by a single mom, and my dad was a great source of what toxic masculinity looked like.
That was the phrase I was gonna say. Yeah.
And so, it just never even occurred to me. Like, I didn't assign a sex or a gender to the sort of kindness and emotional intelligence that my mother had and taught to me. It was just, well, clearly this is just what everybody does. This is just how everyone should act. That, so I was saved from that.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. So, I'm not going to say, oh, I made this choice and purified myself.
You weren't steeped in the brew.
Sure.
So, yeah. So, anyway, so that's my big fat Greek wedding. Is there anything that we missed?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, this is a different kind of episode. I think this was a different kind of movie. So, you don't.
I can have fun movies. See,
yeah, no,
not always dramatic.
I'm not saying you have fun movies on the list that we haven't watched, probably. Yeah, so we're always trying to evolve the system here. So less of a blow by blow. I mean, the downside of not doing the blow by blow is you do miss some of the chances to highlight. Some of the funny parts or some of the other things. There's a lot of good slapstick humor in this. Like when they first meet in the travel agency, she goes to walk away and she's still got her headset on, and it boing, and she falls down behind the desk, and he gets beat up by an old lady outside the window. That was there's some it is sort of a movie that's like, it's got the amount of humor in it that like a story has that your uncle's telling you or something, where it's not like it's not explicitly a comedy story.
Yeah.
It's not meant to make you laugh. It's relaying something, but it's got enough like humor in it. Sure. Yeah. Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, it had some good bits in it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I mean, I get what you're saying about, Ian is a little bit too perfect.
Oh yeah.
But I really like their relationship. And if you watch the second movie, which is set like their daughter is like 16, 17, somewhere like that. So, they've been married for a while, and stuff happens, and it's funny, there is a point in there where they say the economy changed and I couldn't work at the travel agency anymore because nobody could afford trips. And so she's back at the restaurant. So it's funny. But their marriage is still good. Yeah. Like there's this segment where they feel like they're growing apart and they want to reconnect, and they have to work on their marriage.
So they start a podcast.
Right. But it's a nice view of marriage that you don't see often enough.
Yeah.
I think you see marriage as you get married and everything's perfect. That's the end story. Nothing to see here. Or you see marriage as, oh my God, I hate him.
Yeah.
He's so mean, or he's so boring, or and there's never this growth phase. That's not a good way to describe it.
Sure.
But you rarely see what I would consider a healthy marriage.
Sure. So. Yeah. Well, I think in part because that doesn't make for good television.
Well, sure.
As it were.
Sure.
Yeah.
And in the second movie, they are very much the B plot. So maybe that's why.
Yeah. Like showing two people who are well-adjusted and making it work.
It's true. It's not very dramatic.
All that exciting. It's hey, look at these guys. I mean, like,
oh, look at this. They're discussing the pros and cons, and then they came to a compromise. Riveting. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's not as fun.
Sure.
But yeah. I mean, it's you are right. And again, I think it is because it's more fun to watch people get on the journey to get there, or on the journey to leave there.
Yeah.
Than it is to just like, we just like, hey, there was 10, 16, 15, 20 good years here, and everything was good, and not a lot happened. and we paid the bills, and there we go.
And there was a rough couple years when money was tight, and then we're fine. And that's true. It's not very exciting, but it's much more real. And I think not talking about that part, not presenting that part, gives people artificial expectations.
Well, sure, yeah. It's tough to know, when every depiction you see is of a marriage that's falling apart.
Yeah,
something.
It's either blissful because it hasn't really started yet, or it's falling apart. It's funny. I think about my view of my parents' marriage, and my parents are very much partners, and they love each other. They like spending time together. They're affectionate. They're not like lovey-dovey, at least not in front of us. But I don't know. There was a period where I felt like their marriage was just sort of boring and stale, and now I think I am like, oh no, that's like they never fight, which sometimes I wish that I had gotten lessons from them in how to fight in a marriage well. But
yeah, well, like Charlie's mom said,
oh, that's right. Yeah,
fight before marriage.
It took me a minute. I was like, wait, what?
So that's a callback.
Right. But now I think, oh no, that was a really good, like they're partners. Like I'm sure there were times when things were harder and they didn't give up and they still made it work. And I don't know a whole lot about their love life or whatever, but they're still content. So I don't know. That's just a good model. It's not exciting, but it's a good model to have. So all this to say, I like watching Ian and Tula.
Yeah. And I do think, I think it's where do you get that? Obviously it's modeled by your parents, but otherwise, where do you get the depiction of a healthy marriage? Because not to pull back the curtain too far, but early on in our relationship, when we argued, you basically thought that it was over.
Well,
because we had an argument.
Because I had never seen an argument that was resolved.
That's what I'm saying.
Parents don't fight ever.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Because even though they gave you a good example of a partnership and sort of an even keel, they never showed you like people can disagree and then they can get past that. Yeah. And that's why sometimes when you're like, not in front of the kid, I'm like, I'm not going to have a knockdown drag out in front of the kid, but he needs to understand that we disagree sometimes, and the next day we get up and things move on. That it doesn't. I think sometimes it's a sharpness. Sure. And I'm like, but that's a whole other discussion. But I think it's healthy for kids to see their parents have arguments that get resolved and teach them that relationships, not just romantic relationships, but all relationships have these bumps, and that if there's something there that's really at the center of it, you're going to come back around. It's going to resolve. And when I think about in my lifetime, the friends and the relationships that I've had where something happened and then it never resolved, that's the kind of thing where you go, okay, well, then there was nothing at the core of that. Yeah,
that's true.
Because it never truly resolved whatever the issue was, and this is going back to my childhood even. Yeah. I had plenty of grade school friends who, for whatever reason, we just drifted apart, or we had an argument and we never spoke again. I can think of a couple right now from middle school in particular. So I think I don't know what the second movie's like, but it would be nice to see more movies depicting just like, this is a normal, healthy relationship, and it's kind of boring, so it's not the main focus of this movie, but it's still fulfilling. But it's, and just as the background. I wonder, I guess you don't get a lot of that. I was trying to think if you get a lot of that from like television, because the relationships are so long, lasting. I feel like there were some. Well,
so the one that I think of immediately, which is darkened a little bit by recent revelations, but I always thought the Huxtables were a good example. Yeah, it's hard to look at Cliff Huxtable now as a role model for anything, but that's not the character's fault.
Right. Yeah. But but you look at just right around that time, what you had Growing Pains, you had Family Ties. Yeah. Like all of these had, like, in Family Ties, like the mother, the husband-wife relationship, the mom and dad relationship was never a source of conflict.
No. And they weren't that kind of schlubby guy and hot wife that you see so often now.
No.
And the husband was never a fool. I think in Family Matters it was okay, but he was approaching schlubby.
Well, as that show went on, and that very much became the Steve Urkel show, he needed a foil. He needed like a oafish sidekick, and that's what Carl became. Yeah, he became the oafish sidekick. But early on, I think it was very much like the Carl Harriet relationship was never a source of conflict in that show. It was a little
healthier too. Yeah. I think you've never seen this, but on Friday Night Lights, Coach and Tammy are, I think, a pretty good marriage because you see them fight. Yeah. I mean, over big things, but they come together and they have, not to get too into it, but there's this. They like take turns making moves for the family for each other's career and I mean, like big things, not just like I want pink for the bathroom and you want blue. I mean, like major things. So I think they are a good relationship.
So maybe at modern television outside of that, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know how many, because it's just too easy, right? It's just too easy to have a King of Queens, or I mean, you've
Last
got
Man Standing.
Or just Home Improvement in general. That whole anything with Tim Allen. Yeah, and it is. He's always going to be the oafish husband, and there's always going to be conflict is going to rise from his actions, and the fact that he's going to be a child.
I think that's his fault more than the show.
That's 100%. I mean, that's
because the actress who plays the wife in Home Improvement, I like her in a lot of things that she does, and I don't remember her being part of the conflict, but. Not like always. Everybody loves Raymond. That's I don't find that relationship.
Yeah, there's a
certainly
lot.
His parents. That's just terrible.
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, it's because it's just like this was a movie. Those are television shows. And that's not the important part. But again, that's when you can have when you can have them there as the foundation. Like they often evolve. For every growing pains and family ties, you have a Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv, like you have a Carl and Harriet, like where the husband eventually becomes the oafish sidekick to the star of the show or whatever. Yeah. Or the foil or whatever.
You know what is another good one? And this is another one that you've never seen, but there's several, I think, good relationships in Parenthood.
Yeah, never seen.
I'm thinking of okay. Dave's never seen it, but for anyone who's listening, I think Parenthood shows some good marriages. But can I one last thing before we start to wrap this up? I sometimes when I see this, because this is on cable all the time, and you see little bits of it, whatever. When I see Ian's parents sitting there and being, dry toast in their neutral colors, and he's an only child, and I'm just like, oh, please God, can we not be that way? Like when Will eventually brings home, when our child eventually brings home somebody, please can we be a little bit more exciting than Rodney and Harry? Like, oh God. Yeah. So just promise me we're not going to be dry toast.
Yeah. Well, we'll try not to be. Or if we are, then we can have the same kind of redemption arc that they had where you get a little liquor in us and we perk up a bit. Because by the end, there's a point in that movie where I'm thinking like, there's no way that this guy was raised by these two people. Yes. And I think just over the course of the movie, you're just shown that like, they're just, they don't know what to make of this. They're out of their,
which, fair. I would be out of my element too, although I would try a little bit harder.
But when they're in their element, in their own home, in the scenes that take place there, they are very, straight laced and toast and so they had a bit of a redemption arc by the end.
But really that ouzo does a lot apparently, and it tastes like licorice. So
I'm in 100%. Give me that and some absinthe and some Jaeger.
Ooh, just keep you away from peelers.
Just line them up.
Yeah, I'll take the jelly beans. You can have all the licorice liqueurs. So, yeah. So that is my big fat Greek wedding. Yeah, everybody. So we would love to know what you think about Greek families, about ouzo, about gender roles and the patriarchy. I love how with any movie I can bring it back to the patriarchy. I feel like I've done that in every episode so far.
It's always. I mean,
patriarchy, xenophobia. There's everything. It is. It's true. But it was still a fun discussion.
It was.
Folks.
It was. Yeah, but
feminism
also
is fun.
If you like this format better than the blow by blow, plot recap, or if you like the blow-by-blow plot recap, because we're giving you a half hour of your day back here that we usually take from you with an episode.
We have an episode that is not even close to the running time of the movie, which I feel like that was good. Rare. So yeah, we would love it if you would drop us a line. We are on both Twitter and Gmail. We're at YSMY Podcast for You Show Me Yours podcast. So tweet at us, drop us an email. We'd love to hear from you.
And next time,
in the meantime, don't forget to subscribe. We have new episodes every other Wednesday.
Yep. And
we're on all your major platforms, I believe, including Spotify for sure, because that's where I listened to our latest episode.
Yes.
Just recently.
Yes.
So subscribe if you would. That would give us a boost. We're very happy when we see that.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see, next week, what are we doing next week? I don't know.
I think
next time. I keep saying next week.
Yeah,
next time.
It's tough. I think Howard the Duck.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you two because at least one time I've been all set for something and it hasn't been anywhere available. And a lot of these we already checked. We made sure a lot of these are available, but time passes.
But yeah, they were available like 4 months ago. And
so I might let you pick. Okay. So maybe make it a mystery. Howard the Duck.
Okay.
Harry and the Hendersons. A Duck from Outer Space.
Oh.
Featuring John Lithgow, or a Sasquatch featuring
John Lithgow. He's in Harry and the Hendersons. Is he in both?
Or
of those?
is it Harry and
Lee Thompson's in Howard the Duck?
Is it what's the other guy?
Is it John Ritter?
No. Charles Grodin.
Oh.
Now I got to look. Hang on.
Or Albert Brooks.
Let's
He's
see.
kind of in that phase.
Let's see what we got here.
Okay, while Dave's looking this up, let me tell you one last tidbit about my Big Fat Greek Wedding that I learned the other day. So John Corbett had gotten the script for this and really wanted to audition for it. And he was sitting in a bar or restaurant or whatever in Toronto, and he was there. He was filming Serendipity, and he was talking to whoever was at his table about how he'd gotten the script for my Big Fat Greek Wedding, and he really wanted to do it, but he couldn't, blah, blah, blah. People at the next table are producers or casting agents or something for my Big Fat Greek Wedding. And they turned around and they were like, hi, if you'd like the role, it's yours. Boom. So always complain to the people that you're having dinner with because you never know what could happen.
There you go. Let's see. What do we got here? It is, yes. So I believe John Lithgow is in Buckaroo Banzai. I was thinking of Jeffrey Jones, who plays the villain in Howard the Duck.
He's a good villain. Okay.
Yes.
If he's a villain, that's fine.
Yes. I was crossing now Buckaroo Banzai, Adventures Across the Eighth Dimension, or whatever the whole title of that is.
You're giving me too many words to know.
That's coming soon as well.
Too much.
So
this is too much. All right. Well, folks, stay tuned for one of those.
Yeah.
We'll decide, and we'll see you next time. So this has been You Show Me Yours. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye. The You Show Me Yours theme song is Uplifting Electronic Indie by Winnie the Moog from filmmusic.io.